On this week's episode of the Third Wheel Podcast at Night, me and Darci tackle various topics about being the second woman in a so-called marriage, and also gender differences and double standards. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Third Wheel Podcast
At Night.
I'm your host, Darci.
And I'm Caleb.
And today we'll go back to our roots once again, where we comment on some Facebook posts.
Oh, baby.
Yep.
Now, why do we talk about this, Darci? Because it's my show and we can talk about whatever I want. Or whatever you want. You know, you're my co-host. I enjoy our talks. So, with that out the way, that disclaimer, what is on the agenda? It looks like you're trying to pull up a thing now.
Do you have two?
Two, baby. Yes.
I do. I mean, I can get more if we...
No, I'm sure we'll be good.
But...
So, let me go ahead and give the background. Darci is in a Facebook group that gives Christian marriage advice. And when she joined it, she was looking for practical advice to keep her marriage strong. And ridiculously, she found some off-the-wall crazy scenarios that people are submitting for help. And just as equally crazy responses from Christians. And it's hilarious. It makes good content. It's carried this show forward forever. So, and it's going to keep doing so. So, with that being said, Darci's going to read a question submitted by a user, and then we'll read some comments with people trying to give help. And hopefully the advice that they give is hilarious, and you'll see why we do this. So, all right, Darci, what's up? What's on the agenda today?
All right. So normally we have like a really serious post, but then the comments are like, oh my God. And those are people who are like, wow. But this one, I feel like the comments are mostly just going to agree with where we're at, but I was semi-amused by it. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
So anonymous participant, Anon, posted, "Am I being used?"
Sorry, I'm so
You're already smiling. Why are you already smiling like that?
I don't know. I just know the answer is yes.
That's fair.
Yeah, she's like, am I being used? My husband has another wife. I don't know, Anon. What do you think?
So, my spouse is a Muslim, but I am not. We are not married, just dating. He's about to get married in 6 months to someone he has been dating. I already saw your head tilt out of the corner of my eye.
You just answered your own question, Anon. I'm sorry. All right, next.
He's about to get married in 6 months to someone he has been dating for a few months, but they do not see each other. He also asked me to be his second wife after he gets married. I do not like to be number two, but I really like him, so I was thinking to give it a try. But when we are not together, he prefers me text him than call. And when he is around me, he would sneak and take happy calls with this girl. When they have arguments, he is angry with me too. But when we have arguments, he remains happy with her. I feel like I'm not important to him. But he spends a lot of time with me, and it confuses me because I don't know where I stand. Is he just using me to have a good time but cherishes her more? Should I leave this relationship alone? Because it hurts to see how happy they appear to be together.
All right.
My first thought, let's say culturally, this is just what's going on. Okay.
Sure.
There's other cultures outside of America that have multiple wives.
Yes.
You know, we're not the, I don't know. Soul, like,
we love to put ourselves at the center of the universe as Americans and Western culture is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
There are other cultures. It sounds like this guy's from a culture where they do allow multiple partners.
Right.
However.
But from what I mean, so she's not Muslim. She's not part of this culture that's allowing this to happen.
Yes.
Okay. And she's posting this in a Christian group.
Okay.
So.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
People, right.
Yeah. All right. Hold on a minute now.
When people don't specify that they're Christian or don't specify that they're not, I just assume they are since they're posting it in a Christian group.
Or CDD. Because I always specify that.
Yeah, they do always specify that.
Disclaimer, yes, you should go to Starbucks instead of McDonald's for your date. By the way, I'm in a CDD marriage.
My advice
So
might
take
be
this-
different than others.
Yeah, you should have ordered the fish instead of the chicken.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
But I would think at least like if I'm not a Christian and I was posting it in Christian group chat, I'd be like, hey, I'm not a Christian, but, and she did specify that he's not Christian.
Yes.
So I'm assuming she is.
True.
I feel like that's a fair assumption. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So at that point, you're dating someone that culturally doesn't line up, spiritually doesn't line up, like nothing lines up.
Yep.
I know from experience because I dated someone that was Muslim while I was Christian.
Yep.
And I, at the time, didn't care because he was a really good dude.
Mm-hmm.
I still think he is a good dude. And that was really kind of the only reason we weren't going to work out was just because of that difference.
Sure.
And neither one of us were like rude about it. We were just understanding like, hey, you know. And I saw some of those differences and I was, you know.
You just weren't having it.
Yeah.
Okay. So from the Christian standpoint, your argument is he's not Christian. Go ahead and cut it off.
Right.
Okay.
You, as a Christian, you want to be in a relationship with another Christian.
You're telling me they have to be
Equally yoked.
Oh my gosh, how'd you know I was going to say that? It's like you saw the light in my eyes go off again. He feels again. Just like the Grinch, his heart grew 3 sizes that day. All right. All right, that's an interesting perspective.
And so now let's assume she's not a Christian,
Okay.
but she is dating a Muslim.
I want to get there. Yeah.
So that you want to get to where you're not a Christian?
No.
Oh.
Yes, I aspire to be like Anand's boyfriend, who she's not married to.
I was like, well, because I was like, let's assume she's not a Christian. You're like, yeah,
Me
I want to
too.
get there. I was like,
I'm working my way toward out of the faith. Thank you for pointing. I did word that weird.
yeah. I was like,
I feel like an anonymous poster right now.
yeah, you gotta put the little voice effect on.
Yeah. Anon. All right. Well, let's finish your point.
Okay, so assuming she's not Christian and he's Muslim, and she is already sounding like she's not a big fan that he's going to have another wife, but not only is he going to have another wife, she would be his second wife.
Correct.
So she's already not even number one on the board, and she's sitting here being like,
Let me
What's
also.
going on?
So I'm glad you laid out your Christian perspective. Okay, as a Christian, you probably want to date another Christian because you're going to have kids and whatnot. All right, especially again from the Christian's perspective, how are y'all going to raise the kids? Okay, so he's going to have his kids with the other wife and raise them that way, and then you're going to have kids with him. How are you going to raise those kids? Christian, Muslim, like how are you going to do it? There's a lot here. Sounds like Anon really wants to be with somebody, right? It's because she's trying to make these compromises. Well, I'm open to being number 2. I'm open to
Right.
him not being in the same faith. Like, okay, so
and from what I remember with Muslim culture, I could be completely wrong,
Sure.
so don't take this as fact.
we could be
But-
ignorant here.
From what I remember in their culture, when they take on a second wife, it's not because they have literally 2 wives, just randomly. It's their spouse died and women have no way to take care of themselves because they're not supposed to be doing physical manual labor outside of the house. And so these are men that are taking them in to care and provide for them, not just because they want 2 wives. It's not this like big like smorgasbord of options that you lay out around your house. It's okay, well, now you guys can help each other take care of the kids. You guys can it's almost supposed to be like a community helping each other. It's not supposed to be this like I love both of you, so I'll marry both of you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take now that you brought up taking out the Christian aspect of it. Okay, in the Christian aspect of it, yes, you probably shouldn't be with this guy. The kids, the not agreeing on the religion, how they're going to be raised, not to mention the other wives overseas. Like, it's just, this sounds very complicated, and you probably don't want to do it. As a Christian, probably not the best move. Now, moving on, taking that aspect out of it, okay, let's just say they're both secular, Okay, he's Muslim and you're a secular woman. Okay. Homeboy is being super shady about everything because he's not just like, oh, culture allows more than one wife. He's like, okay, before you call me, text me so that way he can get away. He can sneak away from his actual wife.
Does the first wife know she's gonna be the first wife?
Exactly. Yeah. So she obviously doesn't know about you. Okay, so he's being shady. He's like, text me, don't call me. If he gets in a fight with his wife, he takes it out on you. If y'all get in a fight, he gets mad at you, and then he's super nice to his actual wife. So he right out the gate, he's being shady. Like this isn't a culture barrier here. This is like he's embraced the Western philosophy of cheating, and he's like, okay, I just need 2 burner phones. You know what I mean? Like, all right, so. Even though we're trying to see things from a different perspective, a different culture, he's embraced our culture of cheating and dating. Where he's like, he can have another woman, he can set up burner phones, he can act a certain way around different people. So this guy, I just don't trust. Period. Taking religion out of it, taking the Muslim aspect out of it. He's not acting like either one. He's acting like a guy who's shady, hiding stuff, dating multiple people. How do you know
having a mistress? Pretty much. Yeah.
How do you know you're the only number 2? How do you know there's not a 3 or 4? Okay, because if he can balance both of y'all, which it seems like he's actually kind of doing well, so hats off to the multitasker, right? But how do you know he's not going to find his way to have a third one?
Right.
Okay. And if he's telling you one thing, I guarantee you he's telling his wife another thing. He's not telling her the full story, all that kind of stuff. He's taking extra precaution to hide you from another person. It has nothing to do with religious stuff. He might have told you it's for religious reasons, but he is obviously hiding you from her, but not the other way around. So I think you got in over your head. If it was a legit culture thing where he was able to devote time and attention to both of y'all, maybe a different story. Like maybe I still wouldn't recommend it, but at least it's like, okay, he equally cares about both of you. This is clearly a one-sided manipulative person working really hard to keep one of y'all from each other, from finding out about each other. Unless, what do you think, Darci? You think I'm off key here?
No. My other thing that just kind of surprises me is somebody took the time to type this out, proofread it, and post it because they didn't answer their own question. And that really surprises me.
What do you mean? Am I missing something here?
Because she typed it out. She said, "Am I being used?"
Right.
Goes into this whole thing about being a second wife and all of that.
Yeah.
And somehow didn't answer her own question.
Right.
In this.
Yeah. I mean, some of this is assumed as you're typing it out, you're typing out your thoughts. You're like, okay. So I wrote a letter to my now ex-girlfriend a couple of years ago. When I was trying to process everything, I was trying to process how she was treating me. And as I wrote it out, I was like, okay, this sounds ridiculous. She obviously doesn't care, right? So.
But you never posted it because you answered your own question.
Exactly.
And whenever I was dating that one guy, I never asked people's opinion on our relationship because I knew it was bad.
Yeah, because you knew
I tried to lie to them about how good he was and how sweet he was to me and paint him as this picture as something that he wasn't. But I didn't go on Facebook and be like, well, this guy cheated on me and I love him and I want to know if I should go back to him because all these other good, because I knew the answer.
Yeah,
I knew the answer. I just decided to be dumb against what I already knew.
Yeah, you didn't want anyone to tell you what you didn't want to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but I've also heard this thing that it's actually rare for people to be self-aware.
Really?
I'll have to look up the exact percentages it gave.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. Do you just mean across the board? It's
people in general.
Yeah.
That's how you have people because they're completely not self-aware.
Yeah.
And they ask questions that they genuinely are asking a question and you give them an answer and they're like, no, that doesn't sound right.
Right. Or in the case scenario of the person you brought up, they're like, yeah, you're right. And then do the opposite.
Yeah. Right.
There's something extra special with that individual though. Because oh man, that's a whole nother animal. My goodness. I don't know. Where do we start there? My goodness. So yeah, Back to her original question, am I being used? Yes, girlfriend. 100%.
Very much so.
He's hiding you. He's being shady. Like I said,
Right.
this has nothing to do with culture because he's embraced the Western culture of cheating, like full on. I don't know. Like as we read it out loud, can you not hear yourself? You know what I mean? Like it's like you said, she basically answered her own question. Did she not proofread and be like, "Oh my gosh," you know what I mean? And that's also possibly why they post that stuff anonymously, was because like they don't want to be told, yeah, you know, personally, yes, you are being used.
Because the comments are filled with people saying to leave, run, get away while you can, pretty much. Someone put like a reasonable thing where they said him being Muslim and you not is not going to work. Clearly, he's expecting something that is just not okay with you. Move on and leave it to another Muslim woman to handle.
That's the other thing, too, is like, that you don't like this. And it's not going to get better.
Right.
Especially if he marries you and marries her.
Right.
In our culture and Western society, not allowed. Over there, maybe it's allowed, maybe not, whatever. Okay. But you are not happy where you're at. Okay. This is what it's going to be. Even if he wasn't being shady, you took the risks by like, saying yes, and you're realizing you don't like it. That's fine. You can do that. You can say, I'll give it a try, and then realize it's not for you. It doesn't always have to be this extreme of an example. Yeah, I'll be a second wife. I'm not really okay with that.
Right.
But it's okay to say, let me try this. Oh, I don't like it. That's fine. But now you have to look in the mirror and say, I'm not okay with this. I feel like the second person. I am the second person. He doesn't want to show me off. He's hiding me from the other person. Okay, he's a manipulator, he's a cheater, he's all the things. These are all red flags. These aren't yellow flags. This isn't I tried this and I don't like it. He's actively lying to multiple people in order to keep the status quo. So yes, you need to get out of this because even if he wasn't being shady, you're not happy with this. You don't want to be number two, but that's what you're going to be because his wife is overseas. You're number two, and you're not happy about it. And that, you know what, that's fine. But now you realize, now look in the mirror, say, I'm not happy with this. I'm going to go ahead and leave.
Yeah. And someone else commented, no judgment whatsoever with like a thumbs up. Like in any relationship, if we're not feeling valued, respected, loved, seen, heard, understood, what's the point?
Right.
Long-term pain. Mm-hmm. No idea what's in his head? Ask him.
Yeah. I don't recommend asking him because he's going to lie to you.
Yeah.
I get where that person's coming from. That's not bad advice because, like, yeah, my girlfriend, whenever she thinks I'm upset at something, she'll ask me what I'm thinking. And if I'm not able to tell her at the moment, I tell her, give me a minute and I'll be able to talk to you. And if I am in the mood, we'll talk about it and then we'll get over it. Okay? So that's why we work really well together. This guy has a history of lying to you. So if you ask him his thoughts, you ask him how he feels, he's not going to tell you the truth. He's not telling her the truth. He's not telling you the truth. He's lying to both of you. So, yeah. I mean, if y'all have kids together, how are you going to hide the kids from his other wife? How's he going to be a dad to both families across the globe?
Right.
It's just not going to work. All right.
And, like, what's even his expectations with that, you know? Like, are you even, I don't know, is he even thinking he would have kids with his second wife if he already has them with his first wife? You know?
That's the thing, yeah. So, Anon, you are being used. That to answer your question. Secondly, on the next thing, you're not happy with the arrangement. Even if he wasn't using you, you're not happy with how this is going.
Right.
You tried. Okay. You gave it a try. You gave it a solid college try. You worked harder in this than I worked in actual college, and you don't like it. So get out of it. Mm-hmm. Number 3, you're dragging your feet because you don't have a lot of confidence in yourself. You're worried you're not going to find another guy that makes you happy like this guy does, and that's BS. You will. I promise you will. Okay, if you keep working on yourself, the right person will come along. And don't be limited to, well, I'll just meet him at church. I'll meet him with blah, blah, blah. Don't worry about any of that. Don't worry about where you're going to meet him. Just go out and be you. You know what I mean? Just do you. And
settling
the right
on something like that's so extreme.
Yes.
Like, I don't know. I still remember, like, I had a feeling that this guy was seeing this other girl the same time as me the whole time. I knew it in the back of my head, and I kept lying to myself that he wasn't. Yeah. But had he have come out and said, I want you to be my second girlfriend, like made it clear as day, I would have been like, what the like
yeah.
What?
Right. Yeah, I mean, at least he was honest with you.
He wasn't though.
No, I'm talking about a nun. At least At least a nun was like honest with you, and you gave it a try. You don't like it.
Yeah.
So it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. It's going to turn to resentment, and then you're not going to like who you become, and you'll definitely not like who he's becoming. But he's already shown you. He's already planting the seeds of the terrible person he's going to be, if not what he already is. So
now that I reminded myself of that, like, second wife marriage culture thing, it actually makes me want to relook at some of the Bible stories about some of the kings some of the kings that followed God, that were favored by God, that had the hundreds of wives.
right.
Now,
And concubines.
Okay, when it mentions concubines, those are like prostitutes, aren't they? Yeah.
Pretty much.
So when it mentions prostitutes, obviously that's not, a good thing.
Right.
But did it specify with King David that he had concubines?
Oh, absolutely.
Did he?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then never mind. I guess it doesn't make it worth it.
But God still called him a man after his own heart.
There you go, men.
So, you know what that means. Whoop, whoop.
I wonder how that works. That's so weird that you could have hundreds of prostitutes and God's like, yes, a man after my own heart.
Right.
Maybe I need to go reread that and see kind of what's going on with that.
I do wonder if he... Okay, sorry, audience who aren't Christian. Sidebar. I wonder if God just wasn't ready to reveal his plan for marriage yet, because it wasn't until really Paul the Apostle that we got into like, okay, now here's the expectations for a marriage. Maybe just the world wasn't ready for that yet. That could be
specified
something.
in Leviticus that a man ought to marry one woman. I thought.
Really?
I thought so. I mean, it goes down to specifying men not with men and
right. It does.
All of that.
Yeah, it does say that.
It talks about like not chopping off your parts and walking into the temple. It like talks about really like crazy specific stuff. So I'll be surprised if it doesn't talk about marriage.
Well, I'm looking at his... Okay, sorry, guys, sidebar again. All right, I'm looking at Leviticus 21, verse 7. They shall not marry a prostitute or a woman who has been defiled. Neither shall they marry a woman divorced from her husband, for the priest is holy to his God.
That's saying the priest, isn't it?
Sure. 13, he shall take a wife in her virginity, a widow or a divorced woman, or a woman who has been defiled or a prostitute. These he shall not marry, but he shall take as his wife a virgin of his own people. I gotta find... I don't know, it doesn't, I don't see anything here that says it has to be one. But we get to the New Testament, and that's when he really breaks down having... I don't know. It talks about the once you're divorced, don't get remarried. Don't remarry someone who's been divorced. So, I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't really specify one person. I don't mind going back at some point revisiting this topic, or audience, please feel free, all the Christian people that know the Bible and quote it incorrectly. Please give me a link to a verse here. You know, which one's Darci possibly referencing? Or give us verses to support the opposite. I'm saying some pretty controversial things here. You know what I'm saying?
Because like
come at me, bro.
Part of my like mind went like, well, if it's Muslim culture to like take in women who don't have a husband or lost their husband or what have you, then it would make sense for the king to have hundreds of wives.
Right.
And not because he's like, you know, getting a new one every day, but because he's caring for the widows of the land.
Yeah, maybe.
But then if it mentions concubines also, then I really don't know the argumentation there at all.
Sure. All right, sidebar over. You got another one for us, Darci?
I do. As long as I can get my phone to unlock.
I do.
I do.
That was terrible.
So... Nothing can be as terrible as my at night impression.
No, that was pretty funny.
I don't know where that... Now I don't want to do it anymore because I can't remember how to do it properly. Now I just think not to sound like that, and then it makes it worse.
So you went back and listened? You went back and listened to
I
that
did,
episode?
And I was like, oh, God.
Yeah, no, sometimes you say some really cringe things I have to cut out.
Oh, whatever.
That was a good example. I kept it in just so you could hear it.
Oh, it was funny.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I ain't gonna lie.
All right, so we have another anonymous participant.
Oh, baby.
Also, I wish more men posted.
How do you know they're not men? They're anon.
Because they make it pretty clear.
I birthed 4 children.
Yeah.
How do I know it's not a guy? All right, fair point.
I do wish we had like a more even number of men versus women, and then same in the comments.
I'm sure.
But I mean, from what I see, we normally have fairly reasonable women on the post, and then the men are going feral in the comments.
That's true.
In all fairness. And then whenever the men do post, then the women are being reasonable in the comments, and they're like, "Oh, just love your wife better," and so it's like, this isn't worth.
Maybe that's a double standard working in the correct direction.
There we go.
You know what I mean? Because there's some pros to it sometimes. You know what I mean? So anyway.
So it says, "Hey y'all, if you got invited to your friend's birthday party and you ask your husband to go with you, but then the babysitter cancels and you tell him that the babysitter canceled, hoping he would say, 'Go, bae, I'll watch the kids,' but instead he says, 'I guess we can't go then,' how would you feel?"
So are you mad that you couldn't go by yourself, or are you mad that he assumed that our plans were our plans?
Right.
Is that the real problem here?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I don't know. If my girlfriend said, "Hey, can I, are you going to be mad if I go anyway?" You know what I mean? I don't know. I'd at least offer it, because I'm kind of semi-considerate. I'd offer like, "Hey, do you want to go and I'll stay and watch the kids?" But I don't think there's anything wrong with the automatic assumption that like, "Oh, now we can't go."
Right.
I don't see anything wrong with that assumption.
I don't see anything wrong with that assumption either. Now, it'd be a different case scenario if she was like, "I really want to go to my friend's birthday party. Do you mind?" And if he was like, like throwing this big fit about it, that would be a little bit of a different story. Yeah. But it just sounds like, I don't know, y'all made plans to go together. And so in my head, it makes sense that if one's not going, both aren't going.
Yeah.
And if you don't want it to be that way, then you need to specify that. Like, there's so many freaking posts here where it's like, do you communicate at all? Yeah,
that, and like, maybe he just misspoke.
Right.
Maybe he was joking. And, on your end, Anon, you could just say, "Hey, I do really want to go. Is there any way?" And then ask, and then see what he says. And then we'd have a whole different issue if he was being a jerk about it.
Right.
So in this instance, like you said, the automatic assumption of like, "I guess we're not going," I don't see an issue here. I really don't.
Also, my thing is like, I don't know. There could have been like multiple ways to go about this, whether it was calling your friend to see if you can take your kids with you, or, like asking if it's okay if you go, especially if it's like your friend.
Yeah.
Then, like if Jenica invited me to her birthday party and told me it was fine to bring Paul, like I'd want to go together, but if things came up very last minute, I'd be like, "Hey, would you mind me stopping by? I'd tell my best friend happy birthday." Right. And at that point, Paul would be like, "No, go ahead." But I could definitely see him making the assumption like, "Oh, guess we're not going." And like, I wouldn't really care if that was the assumption, as long as, he doesn't make a big deal about it when I ask the question about me going by myself.
I agree. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think Anon's kind of blowing stuff out of proportion. Does it say she got mad?
She doesn't really specify. She just asked the group how they would feel. Okay,
so she felt a certain way enough to where she had to type it out and submit it to Christians to see what they...
Yeah.
Oh, I got one for you, Darcy. What does the Bible say about this? About your babysitter canceling and your husband assuming that, you're both staying home. Okay, this is definitely a Christian...
It says to go jump off a cliff.
Yeah. Babysitter canceled, jumpeth offeth a cliffeth. Yeah. Well, give me some comments because I know these are good.
All right. So Jesse said, "Too bad people can post anonymously on here. Some of these are the dumbest questions. If that's the worst problem you have, then you should thank your lucky stars."
Thank the Lord. Okay.
Yeah, not the lucky stars.
Yeah. There's no such thing as luck. Okay. There's only blessings. Okay. You're blessed. You're not lucky. You're blessed. Okay. Thank you, Jesus.
Ew, right. Stop.
What?
You're giving me flashbacks.
Oh, same guy that is earlier? Same guy we bleeped out the name of?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to imitate his voice, but you're right.
And then Jesse goes on to say, "It wasn't worth the time and effort it took to post it. You stay home with your children like a good mother would. You want him to. So hold yourself to that standard and quit your whining like a little child. Otherwise, your poor children, you're left unfit to be a mother."
Ooh, that was a little extreme.
Yeah.
Immediate thoughts on that, Darcy. Is she an unfit mom? for wanting to go to the birthday party.
I can't with these people, man.
I know. I'm telling you, man.
Like,
it's ridiculous.
I can understand if they were like, okay, not even understand. Not that this would be any better. Okay, I'm not condoning he talked to her about this, but if he was like, you're being an unfit wife by not communicating,
Right.
I'd be like, that's extreme and harsh, but like I see where you're coming from as far as like she needs to step up and communicate. But to call her an unfit mother, I'm like, where are we getting this from?
Well, see, the same way that Anand's taking offense to like, so are we gently, he gently asks her, so we're staying, right? You know, gently, and then this guy just comes in like, you know, you stay at home like the good mother you are. Yeah, you like that, don't you? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? He's just so assertive.
Yeah.
I wonder if he talks to his wife like that, where he's just like, yeah.
I don't know. He's talking about how like, she wasted her time making this post, and then he goes on this long rant.
I agree with that first part. Yes, this is a waste of a perfectly good post. She wasted perfectly good finger strength typing this out. You know what I mean? So, I don't know.
It's that, and like, to say like, if that's the worst problem you have, then thank your lucky stars.
Oh,
like,
my stars.
I did think of that as well.
Who says that? You better thank your lucky stars. Yeehaw! Who talks like that?
But even saying like, thank God that's the worst problem you have. She didn't say that. She didn't say that was their only problem.
Yeah, maybe it's a symptom of a larger issue.
Right, yeah.
Maybe she was typing out how physically abusive he is, and then she got cut off as he was beating her. So
why do you always go to like physical assault?
I don't know. It says a lot about me, doesn't it?
You quit.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Had a flashback to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll stop. I'll quit heavy breathing into the microphone.
I freaking can't stand you.
And yet here you are.
Now
you're an unfit friend.
Now I don't even remember what I was saying. You suck. It was something about like that. It's not even necessarily that this is the biggest issue. Like, because I don't know, if you really want to think outside the box here, maybe the reason she didn't communicate in that moment is because she's never been listened to once she's communicated before. So she's used to just hearing what he has to say and shutting down and not saying anything.
That is a real thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
You know, so it's like there could be like she's reaching out asking how other people would feel about that, and all these people are like, well, did you try saying something?
Right.
And then she's like, well, it wouldn't matter anyways. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We don't necessarily know. It's a short post. It's an anonymous post. Yeah. We don't know everything going on.
That is true.
We have no idea how many times we've read the same poster because all of them are anonymous. Like, this person could have posted 2 other posts about how horrible her marriage is.
That's true.
We've
That's
read
true.
ourselves
This could be a
anyways.
repeat.
Yeah.
It could be the same person that asked, like, do you let him decide what you wear?
Right.
You know what I mean? It could be the same person. Could be the person from episode 3 where her husband's the one installing cameras into the guest bedroom and bathroom. You know, we don't know. Hello, brothers and sisters in Christ. However, Anon, I will have to throw back to episode 1. Have you tried praying about it, playing a board game, doing your nail? Have you tried any of that stuff?
Putting on a scarf when the kids are around.
Okay, now that's episode 4. Have you tried putting a scarf on and lighting the candle? Have you tried setting the mood? Okay. You have a few options here. Go back to a bunch of those earlier episodes and start weighing your options.
All right. So, Bill, he's a very common poster.
I'm glad the
common commenter.
I'm glad the comments aren't anonymous either.
Yeah.
Because that'd be so confusing.
Yeah.
Anon says to Anon.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
So he said, I stopped reading when you said bae. He just went out of his way to be a douche. Like, why? That's so rude.
We're getting on to Anon here for like, this wasn't worth the time typing it out.
Right.
Same thing with Bill. I'd have to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Was that really worth wasting everyone's time?
He should quit being an unfit mother. That's what Bill should stop doing.
Has Bill commented on anything that we've covered already?
Bill's commented on a ton of stuff, dude.
Okay. Do you know anything off the top of your head
No, but I do remember there was a woman. Actually, I remember one where there was a woman where she was like, I've had multiple partners before my current husband. He didn't have very many. I'm talking about that her drive is like higher than his or something. And so he came in to comment and was like, well, it's probably because he's disgusted with your past. you dirty, like nasty, disgusting. And she was like, no, he's not. And he was like, well, women are the gatekeepers of sex. They're the ones that say when it happens and when it doesn't. He was like one of those where he said women are like the gatekeepers of sex. And I was like,
Same. It's like, who talks like this?
Yeah.
Poor Bill. He's so frustrated. Physically, he's just frustrated. His wife is just like, giving him the cold shoulder. She's closed the gate, so to speak.
Yeah.
And now he has to take it out on everybody else's problem. Anytime a non enters his field of view, he has to come in and be like, gatekeeping. Is he the gatekeeper of the gatekeepers?
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? You got to go through Bill to get to the gate.
So Michelle comes in with a comment and says, I guess it depends who is more important to you.
Party. Every time. Bye, honey. I'm leaving. I guess so. I guess that's really what it all depends on. Your kids and your husband or your friend. Yeah. It's a tough call. I'd have to
going to a friend's party for one night out of the year versus staying home with your husband and kids. Yeah, who's more important to you? Make that decision now.
Yeah,
Shut
we
up.
have to decide this now.
That was so dumb. Yeah, that's so dumb.
I just picture you holding up both options and weighing them. I like that sound I made.
That was pretty solid.
All right, not bad.
Especially, I know they can't see your hands moving, but with the combo, that was pretty solid.
Thank you. I try.
Bat's eyelashes.
Yeah. We got a good 6 minutes left.
You want to talk about my brand new car?
Yeah, and how your eyes roll back to the back of your head every time you bring up your car.
It's so nice.
It is true. She almost killed us on the way home to show me how fast it can go, and two, how quickly it'll brake to stop.
I was trying to see if it does the self-pacing, because some of the cars have where if you set cruise control on it, it detects when a car is coming up, so it'll slow down for you and then go back up to speed when it's at a safe distance, and it'll just keep gauging that. And so I saw that had the capability to potentially do that. And so I decided to try it out. And I just made sure to get close enough to where I could really tell.
She gambled with my life. You know what I mean? She's like, I have my best friend here. Or, unalive us today. That's what I meant to say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, YouTube. I was talking with Shaps, and he was like, so are you archiving all our episodes? And I was like, why? Well, for whenever we gain followers and YouTube demonetizes us for no reason, something we said 20 years ago. I was like, yeah, that's a good point. I feel like at some point YouTube's just going to cancel us. What do you think?
I don't know.
Not for YouTube wouldn't be the first to try and cancel us. But, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. People are like... I understand sensitivity, especially when things are fresh, but I don't understand how sensitive the culture is now. It's so extreme.
Yeah.
And it's okay, if you don't want to hear about this, don't listen to it.
I agree.
I don't know. And especially with everything I've been through, all of the trigger words, quote unquote, are words that should be triggering me of all people.
Mm-hmm.
I get everybody handles it differently.
That's true too.
I don't know. Maybe I've just been through so much that my heart's hardened to trigger words.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now, this is just slightly different, but, there was a kid once, I was in high school, and this was during youth, right at church, and he got up on stage, and he was like, I went through such a hard time. My parents divorced. And he's up there crying. Everyone's praying for him. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one in the audience thinking this, but I was like, oh no, that's the worst thing that ever happened to you. You know, like that's to me, that was like the baseline of everything else. That was like the foundation, and then the crap sandwich I was eating was what made up the rest of it.
I used to ask my parents to get divorced when I was a kid.
You legit asked them to?
Yeah.
How would you go about that?
I said that I wanted 2 Christmases.
That's messed up. Oh, had they taken your advice?
I'm just saying, I was a smart kid.
Yeah, we got 2 Christmases. That was pretty nice because, for some reason, JD, biological dad, call him jail dad. Some reason JD wanted to outdo mom, so he'd max out credit cards on our gifts. So divorce wasn't all bad. There were some pros to it, on top of the cons, But
somebody asked me the other day, they're like, "Oh, are your parents still married?" And I was like, "Unfortunately."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I'm with you when you hear like it's so easy to want to one up somebody with trauma. You know what I mean? Where you're like some person comes in with like nothing. The kid is like, my parents divorced. I was like,
I try to keep in mind that a lot of those people are a lot more sensitive than people that have been through a lot. Mm-hmm. So like to them, it's
the world.
Yeah, it's earth shattering.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to cope with that because they haven't been through anything else.
Right.
So it's like for me, we like lost a majority of everything in our apartment from an apartment fire. Mm-hmm. And like for anyone, they're like, wow, that's one of the most detrimental things I could think of, losing all my stuff in a fire and being there and watching it happen and like, flames bursting in my face. Next day, like, I don't know. I felt like I was fine. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I ever really got too mopey about the fire happening.
No, I'm sure there was probably a little bit of a phase. Like when I crashed my first car and it was totaled, there was just like a day or two I was depressed, but you get over it.
The only time I got upset was when, because I was handling it so well, people told me it wasn't a big deal. Mm-hmm. So like my dad, love him, sweetheart, but he's so stupid sometimes. I love him so much though.
Full disclaimer, I love him, but also
but he pisses me off to know, like, oh my God. Yeah. Anyway, so I remember at first he was like very like, oh my God, that must be so hard and awful. And I was like, no, like God's got me. He's blessed me with things. None of these were mine to hold on to anyways. I'm ready for the next chapter. Maybe, and I was super positive. And then my dad, I remember somebody was talking to my dad and he was like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. They really didn't have anything important anyways. And I was like, that's not what I said. Okay. Yeah. Like, oh, you want to talk about, like, I could be plenty pissed off about this and upset and traumatized. I mean, there was flames in my face, Dad. Yeah, like, absolutely. Really?
No, it was fine.
Right. Like, just because I say it was fine doesn't mean you can say it was fine, It
just reminds me of my very first girlfriend. I know I've told you this, and I might have said this before, audience, but, like, I closed her door a little bit too hard. And it wasn't even, I didn't slam it, but she was like, you slammed my door. That image is burned in my brain forever. And I was like, burned in your brain forever.
I hate when people like call everything trauma.
Yeah. Like, call everything abuse. How about that?
Right. Yeah.
Let's go there.
Oh my God. There's one.
Yeah.
Like some of the stuff they call abusive. I'm like, dude, like that, they were just upset and having a bad day and said they didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not abusive.
Right.
Yeah. And just, it's insane. And then people will talk about, like, something being traumatizing. And I'm like...
That was nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, the same thing. Kid comes up, divorced. I'm like, right. Oh, really? I'm so sorry.
I can see that being traumatizing depending how things are going.
Sure, I get that. But, like, I don't know. That's just how I feel, though. That's how it makes me feel. But I know it's a big deal. It was a big deal when my parents got divorced, but that was just like a symptom of other issues.
Yeah. There's just like some people out there where it's like they'll trip in their flip-flops and talk about how traumatizing it was. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Shoot me.
Yeah, I agree. So, well, that's all we have time for today. Thank you for joining us this week on the Third World Podcast at night. I've had a great time. How do you feel, Darci?
I feel good. I feel like we were mostly just having convos.
That's how we normally do it.
Do we?
Uh-huh.
Huh.
You just now noticed, huh? Yeah, just like you don't remember when we became best friends.
Yeah, I really don't. You don't remember either.
It's true. I don't either.
It's just a blank period. It's
Yeah.
like you not in my life, you being my very best friend.
Yeah, it
just happened.
I'm with you. It's
Yeah.
just like I remember before. I don't remember. I just remember during.
Yeah.
I don't remember how it happened.
Yeah.
It just happened. So, all right, guys, that's all we got time for this week. See y'all next time. Hopefully it's soon. Hopefully we start catching up on episodes. But until then, this is Caleb signing off. See you later, Toast Writer.
Huh? Bye.
Bye.